He called me a leech, a charity case, in the house my money bought. My daughter just watched, silent, holding my grandson. They thought I was a broken old man living off their generosity. They were about to find out that I don't just build things, I demolish them too. If you're listening to this, subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're watching from. It helps to know I'm not alone in this crazy world. My name is Robert, and this is the story of how I reclaimed my life. The air smelled like old sawdust and fresh rain. The smell of my life. 45 years spent building. I know the weight of a solid beam. I thought I had built a solid family too. A structure meant to last, but standing in that driveway, rain pooling around my boots, I realized the foundation was cracked. Maybe beyond repair. It started 3 years ago. My wife Mary passed away. The house we shared, the one I built with my own hands, suddenly felt too big, too silent, too full of ghosts. The silence was a heavy weight. My daughter Sarah insisted I couldn't live alone. "Dad, you need us," she'd said. Her eyes were wide with worry. It felt genuine then. She and her husband Kevin had just found their forever home, a massive suburban structure, towering ceilings, more bathrooms than people, impressive but cold, and the down payment was astronomical. Kevin worked in investment management, a vague title. It meant slick suits and constant talk about leverage. He was ambitious, always chasing the next big score, but his achievements never matched his ego. He acted rich, but his pockets were empty. They couldn't afford the house, not on their own. We all knew it, so I did what a father does. I sold my house, the house where Mary planted her roses, the house where Sarah took her first steps. 40 years of memories, gone. I took the proceeds, nearly everything I had. I gave it to them, $200,000. It wasn't a loan. It was a gift, a foundation for their future. For my grandson Liam, I thought I was buying security. I didn't realize I was funding my own prison. The arrangement seemed simple. I moved into the small apartment above their 3-car garage. It was cramped, smelled of oil and my woodworking tools, but it was close to Liam. I'd watch him, I'd fix whatever broke. In return, I'd have access to the family car. They had 2, Kevin's leased luxury SUV, a gleaming black beast he treated like a trophy, and the Toyota Camry, a sensible, reliable blue sedan. I helped them buy it when Liam was born. It was the shared car. That was the agreement. It worked for a while, but slowly the air in the house changed. It got colder. Kevin got a promotion. Suddenly my presence felt less like help and more like a hindrance. It started with little comments, little digs. I was fixing a leaky faucet one afternoon. Kevin walked in, poured himself a glass of expensive water, and watched me. "Must be nice, Robert," he said, swirling the glass, having all day to putter around. I didn't look up. I just tightened the valve. But the words stuck. They festered. Then it was the electricity. He started leaving the utility bills on my small table, circled in red ink. No note, just the bill, a silent accusation. I started skipping meals to save money. I didn't want the confrontation. I just wanted peace. But peace was expensive in Kevin's house, and the price kept going up. The Camry became the battleground. He started treating it as his personal property. He'd take it to work, claiming the SUV was too flashy for certain clients. Then the keys started disappearing. He started hiding them. It was a power play, a way to remind me who was in charge. I'd ask Sarah. She'd look away, twisting her wedding ring. "Oh, Kevin must have them, Dad. I'll ask him later." Later never came. I was trapped, isolated, dependent, exactly where he wanted me. That Tuesday morning was gray and cold. I woke up with a tightness in my chest, a familiar squeezing sensation. It always worried me. I had an appointment with my cardiologist, Dr. Chen. Since my minor heart attack last year, these appointments were crucial. I needed the car. I had asked Sarah the night before. She said it was fine, but Sarah wasn't the one I had to worry about. I walked down the stairs and into the main house. The smell of burnt toast and expensive coffee filled the air. Kevin was sitting at the massive granite island, barking orders into his Bluetooth headset, dressed in a suit that cost more than my monthly pension. Sarah was frantic, trying to get Liam ready for preschool. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. "Morning," I said, keeping my voice light. "I need the Camry for my appointment today, Sarah." I looked at her, hoping for support. She just kept buttering Liam's toast, avoiding my eyes. That was the first sign things were about to go wrong. Kevin muted his call. His face hardened instantly. He didn't even look at me, Can't. I need it. His voice was flat, dismissive. Kevin, this is my heart appointment, I said, the tightness in my chest increasing. I really can't miss this one. I tried to keep the desperation out of my voice. So take a taxi, Robert, he snapped, finally looking up. His eyes were cold. I have clients coming in today. Important clients. He let the word important hang in the air, implying that I was not. I can't ferry them around in the SUV, he continued, his voice rising. It's apparently too aggressive for this particular deal. I need the Camry. It's more subtle. Subtle. The word hung in the air. Absurd. I just need it for 2 hours, Kevin. Sarah said it was fine. I was pleading now. I hated myself for it. He stood up, towering over me. Sarah doesn't make the decisions about the vehicles, Robert. I do, and I say no. He adjusted his expensive tie. I have a job. I have responsibilities. We can't all sit around waiting for doctor visits. His words were like stones, cold and hard. I saw the keys on the counter, half hidden under a stack of glossy real estate magazines, driven by necessity, by the worry about my heart. I reached for them. It was a reflex, a mistake. Kevin moved faster than I thought possible. He snatched the keys, his hand clamped over them like a vice. His face turned a dangerous shade of crimson. What do you think you're doing? He hissed, his voice low and venomous. The mask had finally slipped. I'm going to the doctor, Kevin. I need to. My voice was shaking now. That's when the dam broke. He stepped right into my space, his voice escalating, echoing in the cavernous kitchen. Stop taking my car, he yelled, loud enough that Liam started crying in the other room. Stop acting like you own this place. You don't. He jabbed a finger into my chest. You live here rent-free. You eat our food. You think you can just leech off us forever? A leech. The word hit me harder than a physical blow. I thought about the $200,000. The house I sold. The years I spent working until my hands bled. A leech? The betrayal was absolute. Sarah rushed in, her face pale, holding a sobbing Liam. Kevin, stop it. Dad, are you okay? He's fine, Kevin spat, not taking his eyes off me. He just needs to learn his place. His place. He wasn't done. You are a burden, Robert. A charity case. If you need a ride, call a cab, or take the bus. Stop relying on me. He threw the keys onto the counter with a sharp clang. They skidded across the granite and fell onto the floor. He didn't bother to pick them up. He stormed out of the room. The slam of his office door shook the pictures on the wall. I looked at Sarah. She was crying silently, holding Liam close. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She didn't defend me in that moment. Her silence was a betrayal deeper and more painful than Kevin's cruel insults. She chose him over me. I stood there for a long moment. The silence in the kitchen was heavy. Strangely, I wasn't angry. I felt a profound, chilling clarity. The fog cleared. I saw the stark truth of what my life had become. I bent down, slowly, and picked up the keys from the floor. But I didn't take them. I placed them gently back on the counter. I'll manage, sweetheart, I said to Sarah. My voice surprisingly steady, I turned and walked out of the house. I didn't look back. I didn't take a cab. I didn't take the bus. I walked, the rain soaked through my jacket, the cold seeping into my bones. It was miles to the clinic. By the time I reached it, I had missed my appointment. My heart was still tight, but now it was heavy with a different kind of pain. The pain of realization. I sat in a diner nearby, drinking lukewarm coffee, watching the traffic blur past the rain-streaked window. I thought about Mary. She would have been furious. We believed in hard work, dignity, self-reliance. And I had thrown it all away. When I got back to the garage apartment, the house was dark and silent. I didn't want to talk to Sarah. Not yet. I couldn't hear the excuses. Not today. I sat down at my small desk, opened my old, slow laptop. I opened a file I hadn't looked at since Mary died. A file labeled Mary's Legacy. It held the secret I had kept from everyone, even Sarah. The truth about my finances. The truth Kevin never bothered to ask about. The next morning, I called an old friend, David Adams. David had been my accountant for 30 years. Meticulous and honest, he wore the same style of glasses he had for decades. He was the only person besides Mary who knew the truth. Robert, good to hear from you. David's voice was warm and familiar. How's the retirement treating you? It's changing, David, I said, looking out the window at the gray sky. I need to review my portfolio. All of it. We met at his office downtown. It smelled of old paper and trust. David didn't believe in flashy offices. He believed in solid investments. He pulled up my accounts on his screen, adjusted his glasses, whistled softly. Well, Robert, you and Mary did very well. Remarkably well. He turned the screen toward me. The market's been kind. Your conservative investments, the ones you never wanted to touch, have paid off handsomely. I looked at the numbers. Decades of frugal living, skipping vacations, repairing instead of replacing, investing every spare dollar it had accumulated, quietly, invisible. The total was just over $2 million. I sat back in the chair, the air rushing out of my lungs. $2 million. I wasn't a charity case. I wasn't a leech. I was a millionaire. This was the realization that changed everything. I had been living small, acting poor, saving it all for Sarah. But in doing so, I had erased myself. I had allowed Kevin to define me, to diminish me. I felt a profound sadness that Mary wasn't there, that we had worried so much for nothing. But I also felt something else. Power. I've been thinking, David, I said. The decision solidifying. It's time I started enjoying the fruits of my labor. It's time I stopped living in the shadows. I leaned forward. I need to liquidate some assets. Around $300,000. David looked concerned. That's a large sum, Robert. Are you sure? Is everything all right with Sarah and Kevin? Are they in trouble? Everything is clearer than it's ever been, I assured him. I just need my independence back. As I left David's office, the world looked different. The colors seemed brighter. I was Robert, the builder, and I was about to build a new life. That evening, my phone rang. It was Sarah. I let it ring twice before answering. Dad, I'm so sorry about yesterday. She started immediately, her voice trembling. Kevin was completely out of line. He feels terrible. He really does. I doubted that. Kevin only felt terrible when he lost money. I appreciate that, Sarah, I said, my tone neutral, devoid of the warmth I usually reserved for her. There was a pause. She wasn't used to this version of me. We were wondering, she continued, her tone shifting to a familiar pleading note. Kevin has a very important business dinner tomorrow night, crucial for his career. A potential investor is in town. Here it comes. Could you possibly watch Liam, just for a few hours? Our usual sitter canceled. The breathtaking audacity of the request, right on the heels of a shallow apology. It showed me that nothing had really changed. They still saw me as a convenience, a utility. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt taken for granted, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us share more stories like this. It was time to draw the line. I'm sorry, Sarah, I said, my voice calm and firm. I have plans tomorrow night. There was a stunned silence. Plans? What plans? Dad, you never have plans. Her voice was laced with disbelief and a hint of panic. I do now, I said. You'll have to find someone else. I hung up before she could argue. My heart ached for Liam, but I knew I had to do this. The boundary had to be solid, impenetrable. The next day, I went shopping, not for a sensible sedan. I took a taxi to the luxury car dealership downtown, the one with the marble floors and the salesmen in Italian suits, the kind of place Kevin dreamed of belonging. I walked in, wearing my usual clothes, clean pair of jeans, flannel shirt. They looked at me with polite dismissal. Assuming I was lost, I walked past the BMWs, past the Mercedes, to the back corner, where the real masterpieces were displayed under specialized lighting. Royce. As a builder, I understood craftsmanship. Precision, quality made to last. These weren't just cars, they were works of art. They were everything Kevin was not. I pointed to a stunning midnight blue Rolls-Royce Phantom, elegant, imposing, undeniably powerful. I want this one. A salesman, who had been hovering nearby, chuckled lightly. His name tag said Richard. He had slicked back hair and too much cologne. Sir, Richard said, his tone condescending. This is the Phantom. This particular model is $220,000. He waited for me to flinch, to apologize for wasting his time. I know, I said. I'll take it. Richard's smile wavered. I negotiated the price down to a skill honed over decades of dealing with suppliers. It was the exact amount I had given them for the house. It felt poetic. And how will you be financing this, Mr. Robert? Richard asked, his tone still skeptical, pulling out the paperwork. I won't be, I said. I handed him the cashier's check David had prepared. Richard's eyes widened, his jaw dropped. He looked at the check, then at me, then back at the check. The transaction was completed in less than an hour. Driving the Rolls-Royce off the lot was surreal. The car didn't drive. It floated. The engine didn't purr. It whispered. It was the embodiment of quiet strength, of quality that didn't need to shout. I didn't go back to the garage apartment. I drove to a different part of the city, the upscale area overlooking the river. I signed a lease for a luxury penthouse apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a view that took my breath away. It felt like the life Mary and I deserved, the life we had earned but never claimed. The next morning, I hired a professional moving company. I went back to the garage apartment to supervise the packing. I timed it deliberately. I wanted Kevin to be there. I wanted him to see me leaving. I parked the Rolls-Royce in the driveway, right next to his leased SUV. It made the SUV look cheap, trivial. He came out of the main house as the movers were loading my tools. He was holding a coffee mug, wearing expensive loungewear. He looked confused, then angry. What's going on here, Robert? Where are you going? He demanded, striding across the driveway. He hadn't noticed the car yet. He was too focused on the disruption to his perfect life. I'm moving out, Kevin, I said, closing the door to the apartment for the last time. Moving out? He laughed. A harsh, barking sound. Don't be ridiculous. You can't afford to live anywhere else. Stop this nonsense and apologize for your attitude. My attitude? I shook my head, almost smiling at his delusion. I think I can manage, Kevin. He stepped in front of me, blocking my path. His face was getting red again. Listen here, old man. We had an agreement. You live here, you help with Liam. You can't just walk away from your responsibilities. Watch me. He realized he was losing control. He switched tactics. Desperation made him sloppy. Fine, leave, he spat. But you owe me. I stopped, turned to face him. Owe you? You owe me rent for the last 3 years, he said, crossing his arms. Back rent and utilities. I calculate that at about $30,000, I want it before you leave. A pathetic attempt to assert dominance, to trap me financially. He thought he could bully me, extort what little money he assumed I had. I don't owe you anything, Kevin, I said, my voice calm, my eyes locked on his. I paid for this house. Remember? The $200,000 down payment. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Consider that my rent, I continued, paid in advance. I walked past him. That's when he finally saw it. The Rolls-Royce. Gleaming in the morning sun, his eyes widened. His jaw dropped. He looked at the car, then at me, then back at the car. He couldn't process it. It didn't fit the narrative he had created. The narrative where I was the burden. The charity case. I opened the door to the Rolls-Royce and got inside. I drove away, leaving him sputtering in the driveway, his face a mask of disbelief and rage. I didn't look back. I settled into my new apartment. The silence was glorious. No shouting, no tension, no walking on eggshells. I sat on the balcony, drinking a cup of coffee, watching the city lights twinkle below. I felt peace. A few days later, Sarah showed up at my door. She hadn't called. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red from crying. Dad, can I come in? I let her in. She walked into the spacious living room. She looked around the luxurious apartment, the expensive furniture, the breathtaking view, her eyes wide with disbelief. Dad, what is this? She whispered, her voice trembling. How can you afford this? Did you borrow money? Are you in trouble? She couldn't imagine that I had this kind of wealth. It never occurred to her that her frugal father might be rich. I told you I could manage, sweetheart. She sat down on the plush sofa, burying her face in her hands. I thought she was finally realizing the truth. I was wrong. You left me, Dad, she whispered, her voice thick with accusation. Not wonder. You abandoned me with him. I sat next to her, stunned. Abandoned you? Things have been so hard since you left. She sobbed. Kevin is furious. He's stressed all the time. I have to handle everything with Liam. I can't do it alone. The emotional blackmail. The attempt to make me feel guilty for reclaiming my independence. For refusing to be abused. It hurt more than anything Kevin had said. I didn't abandon you, Sarah, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I removed myself from a toxic situation. I couldn't let him disrespect me anymore. I paused. And I couldn't let you watch it happen. But I needed you, she pleaded. I need you there, to buffer him, to help me. She was asking me to be a human shield, to absorb Kevin's abuse, so she wouldn't have to. And what about Liam? She continued, playing her trump card. He misses you. He keeps asking where Grandpa went. I miss him too, more than anything. And I will see him. But not in that house. Not while I am treated like a servant. She didn't understand. She couldn't see past her own fear. Her own comfort. So you're just going to live here? She asked, gesturing around the apartment with resentment. And this palace, while we struggle. You are not struggling, Sarah. You just have to live within your means. She stood up, her face hardening. You've changed, Dad. I don't know who you are anymore. She left angry and confused, slamming the door behind her. The isolation deepened after that. Sarah stopped calling. I didn't see Liam. It was the price of my independence. And it was a heavy one. I focused on rebuilding my life. I reconnected with old friends. I joined a woodworking club. I started volunteering. I found purpose again. But the silence from Sarah was a constant ache. A week later, I ran into Mike, an old contracting buddy. We grabbed coffee. Mike was a straight shooter, always honest. Robert, Mike started, looking uncomfortable, stirring his coffee too fast. I need to tell you something. Kevin reached out to me last week. I froze. About what? He asked me to invest in some new venture of his, said it was a sure thing. A ground floor opportunity. Mike shook his head. He also mentioned you. My blood ran cold. He said you were supposed to invest, Mike continued, lowering his voice. But you backed out because you were getting confused. I just stared at him. Confused. Senile. Kevin wasn't just smearing my name. He was using my reputation to lure others into his schemes. And he was painting me as mentally unstable to cover his tracks. He's dangerous, Robert, Mike said, leaning in. I didn't invest. Something felt off. He was too desperate, too slick. Be careful. I thanked Mike. I realized Kevin wasn't just greedy, he was ruthless. And he was spiraling. A few days later, my phone rang. It was Kevin, I answered, curious about what desperate tactic he would try next. Robert, he said, his voice dripping with false cheerfulness. The voice he used for clients. How are you enjoying the new place? Heard it's quite the upgrade. No, I'm doing well, Kevin. What do you need? He chuckled, a hollow sound. Well, since you're asking, I'm in a bit of a bind. That investment opportunity Mike told you about. I need some capital quickly. Liquidity is a bit tight. Translation, he was broke. I'm looking to get a loan, he said. But my credit is stretched with the house and the SUV. The bank suggested I get a cosigner. He paused. Naturally, I thought of you. Family helps family, right? The audacity was staggering. He wanted me to guarantee a loan just weeks after calling me a leech and spreading lies about my mental health. Kevin, I said, my voice calm and deliberate, savoring the moment. I'm retired. I can't take on that kind of risk. I paused. I won't co-sign your loan. The silence on the other end was deafening. You won't? He sputtered, the facade cracking. Robert, this is important. It's for our future. Sarah's future. Liam's future. He always used them as leverage, as shields for his greed. My future is my concern now, I said firmly. Good luck with your investment. I hung up. I knew he would be furious. I knew his house of cards was about to collapse, and I knew it was going to get ugly. A few days after the call, I received a strange message. It was from a man named Mr. Thorne. He identified himself as a financial investigator, with the bank where Kevin held the mortgage. He asked to meet with me, urgently. We met at a quiet cafe near my apartment. Thorne was a serious man, sharp suit, cold eyes. He got straight to the point. Mr. Robert, we are reviewing the accounts associated with your daughter and son-in-law, Thorne said, sliding a file across the table. We have some serious concerns regarding recent activity. What kind of concerns? I asked, my heart pounding. I had a feeling I already knew. A substantial second mortgage was taken out on the property 6 months ago, Thorne explained, opening the file. The amount is significant, nearly the entire equity of the home. I felt sick. He had mortgaged the house I paid for. However, Thorne continued, pointing to a document, there are discrepancies in the signatures, specifically your daughter's signature. He looked at me, his eyes piercing. We believe there may be fraud involved. Given your previous financial contribution to the property, we needed to speak with you. Did you know about this loan? No, I said, my voice shaking. I had no idea. Kevin hadn't just lied to Sarah. He hadn't just ruined them financially. He had committed a crime. Forgery. We are launching a full investigation, Thorne said, closing the file. Mr. Kevin is looking at serious charges. Foreclosure is imminent. So the wheels of justice were finally turning, and they were about to crush Kevin. The climax of their downfall came a week later. It was late at night. I was sitting on my balcony, enjoying the quiet solitude. My doorbell rang. It was Sarah. I opened the door. She looked terrified. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with panic. She was trembling. Dad, I need your help, she whispered, pushing past me into the apartment. What's wrong, sweetheart? What happened? I closed the door. I knew this was the end. She handed me a stack of papers. The foreclosure notices, the demand letters, the documents from Thorne's investigation. He mortgaged the house. Dad, she sobbed, sinking onto the sofa. The house you paid for. Without telling me, I looked at the papers. The evidence was overwhelming. The forged signature was clear as day. I confronted him, she continued, tears streaming down her face. He admitted it. He forged my signature. He said he did it for us, for the investment that failed, the one he tried to get me, and Mike, to invest in. He lost everything, Dad, she choked out. All the money from the second mortgage. It's gone. We're going to lose the house. She looked up at me, her eyes desperate. And he, the bank, is pressing charges. He's going to jail. This was the crisis. The moment the house of cards collapsed, the moment Sarah finally confronted the truth about her husband. But even then, her first instinct was to ask me to fix it. What are we going to do, Dad? She pleaded, grabbing my hands. You have to help us. Please. Don't let us lose the house. You have money now. You can save us. I looked at my daughter, my heart breaking for her, for the pain she was enduring, for the mess she had allowed herself to be dragged into. But I knew that bailing them out wouldn't solve the problem. It would just enable Kevin's destructive behavior and Sarah's complicity. It was a hard lesson, but one she had to learn. I can't fix this, Sarah, I said gently, pulling my hands away. Kevin did this. He has to face the consequences. I took a deep breath, and so do you. She stared at me, stunned, disbelief etched on her face. She realized that her safety net, the one she had taken for granted for so long, was gone. She was finally on her own. It was a Friday afternoon. A few days later, I was driving the Rolls-Royce down the main road, heading back from a meeting with Dave. We were finalizing the trust fund for Liam's education, a secure fund that Kevin could never touch. The sun was shining. The sky was clear. I felt a strange sense of peace. The storm had passed. The damage was done. Now it was time to rebuild. As I approached a busy intersection, I saw a familiar car in the lane next to me, a blue Toyota Camry, the car that had started it all. It was Kevin and Sarah. They were arguing. Even from a distance, I could see the tension. The angry gestures. Kevin was gripping the steering wheel, his face pale and strained. He was out on bail, awaiting trial. Sarah was yelling at him, pointing at something in her lap. probably the divorce papers. They were trapped in their misery, oblivious to the world around them. The light turned red. I pulled up beside them, the Rolls-Royce gliding silently to a stop. The contrast between the two cars was stark. Quiet wealth versus desperate struggle. I looked over. Kevin was staring straight ahead, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Sarah was looking down, crying. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to just drive away, to avoid the confrontation. But another part of me, the part that had finally found its voice, knew that this moment was necessary. The final nail in the coffin. I gave a gentle, polite honk. The sound was soft, musical, completely different from the harsh blare of a normal car horn. It was a sound that demanded attention without aggression. Kevin looked up, annoyed, ready to yell at whoever dared to disturb his misery. His eyes narrowed. He saw the car first, the gleaming midnight blue paint, the iconic grille, the sheer size and presence of the Phantom. His jaw dropped. He stared at the car, mesmerized by the symbol of wealth he craved so desperately. Then his eyes moved to the driver's seat. He saw me. The recognition hit him like a physical blow. He saw me sitting there, calm, dressed in a new suit, behind the wheel of a car worth more than the house he was losing. The realization of his massive miscalculation crashed over him. He had treated me like a pauper, only to discover I was a king. He had prioritized his greed over respect, and now he saw the cost, the magnitude of what the car represented. My wealth, my independence. The fact that I was the one with the real power crashed down on him with the weight of his own failure. His face, already pale, turned a sickly shade of gray. He gasped, a strangled sound. He stumbled backward in his seat, as if trying to escape the reality staring him in the face. His eyes rolled back. He slumped forward, his head hitting the steering wheel with a dull thud. Kevin had fainted. The light turned green. The cars behind us started honking angrily, but the Camry remained stationary, a monument to their paralyzed lives. Sarah was screaming, shaking Kevin, trying to wake him up, panic etched on her face. I calmly put the Rolls-Royce in park. I got out of the car. The traffic swirled around us, a chaotic backdrop to the silent drama unfolding in the Camry. I walked over to the driver's side door and opened it. Sarah looked at me, her face streaked with tears. Dad, he's not waking up. I think he's having a heart attack. He's fine, Sarah, I said, my voice calm and steady. I checked his pulse. It was racing, but steady. He just fainted. He was overwhelmed by stress, by shock, by the sudden, crushing weight of reality. I called an ambulance. Within minutes, the paramedics arrived. They checked Kevin's vitals, confirming that it was just a stress-induced fainting spell, a physical manifestation of his emotional collapse. As they loaded him onto the stretcher, he regained consciousness. He opened his eyes. He looked at me, then at the Rolls-Royce parked nearby, then back at me. The humiliation on his face was absolute. The realization that he had destroyed his life for nothing, that he had underestimated the quiet strength of the man he had called a leech. He didn't say a word. He couldn't. Sarah climbed into the ambulance with him. She looked back at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of shock, shame, and a dawning understanding. The realization that her choices had led her here. I didn't stay to watch the aftermath. I got back in my car and drove away. I felt no joy, no triumph, just a profound sadness for the family I had tried to build and the ruins that remained. The fallout was significant and swift. Kevin's business collapsed. The facade of success crumbled, revealing the rot underneath. They lost the house. The foreclosure was finalized. The investigation by Mr. Thorne led to criminal charges. Fraud, forgery. He had been stealing from his clients too, trying to cover his losses. Mike provided testimony about the attempted investment scam. Kevin took a plea deal. He served time. Enough to break him completely. A few months later, I was sitting in my apartment, working on a new woodworking project, a rocking horse for Liam. Sarah came to visit me. She brought Liam with her. He was bigger now, his face brighter. He ran to me, hugging my legs. Grandpa, I missed you. I picked him up, holding him close. The ache in my heart eased. I missed you too, buddy. Sarah stood by the window, looking out at the city. She looked different, thinner, older, but also stronger. The view is beautiful, Dad, she said quietly. It is? I agreed, handing her a cup of tea. Liam was playing on the floor with the wooden blocks I had made for him. Sarah turned to me, her eyes filled with a regret so deep it seemed to age her. I filed for divorce, Dad, she whispered. It was finalized last week. I nodded slowly. I think that's the right decision, sweetheart. The only decision. Tears streamed down her face. But these were different tears. They were tears of release, of healing. I'm so sorry, Dad, she choked out. I'm so sorry for how Kevin treated you. She paused, taking a shaky breath. And I'm even sorrier that I let him. She knelt down in front of me, taking my hands in hers. Her hands were rougher now. She had started working at a local bakery, a real job, honest work. I didn't see it, she sobbed. I was so caught up in the life he promised me, the image he created, the money, the status, that I forgot who I was. I forgot who you were. This was the teardown moment, the moment the walls crumbled, the truth laid bare. The foundation could finally be rebuilt. I prioritized his greed over your love, she continued, her voice thick with emotion. I let him humiliate you, the man who gave me everything, the man who built my life. I don't know if I can ever forgive myself. I pulled my daughter into a hug, holding her tightly as she cried. I felt the years of resentment, the pain, the betrayal melting away, replaced by the unconditional love that had always been there, buried under the rubble. It's okay, sweetheart, I whispered, tears streaming down my own face. We all make mistakes. We just have to learn from them. I looked at her, my daughter, finally seeing her clearly for the first time in years. We rebuild, I said. We start over. That's what we do. I helped Sarah and Liam find a small, comfortable apartment near me. A solid, well-built place. No towering ceilings, no granite islands, just a home. My relationship with Sarah started to heal. It was different now, stronger, built on mutual respect and honesty. As for Kevin, I haven't seen him since that day at the intersection. I heard he moved to another state after he got out of jail. I hope he learned that respect is worth more than money, and that dignity is priceless. I still drive the Rolls Royce, not to show off, but as a reminder of the life I built, the sacrifices I made, and the moment I reclaimed my worth. Sometimes I take Liam for a drive along the coast. We listen to music. He points out the boats on the water. The car glides silently, a testament to quality and craftsmanship. Grandpa, he asked me once, looking around the luxurious interior, his eyes wide with wonder, why did you buy such a fancy car? I looked at my grandson, the future I was building now. I thought about the decades of hard work, the sawdust in my knuckles, the quiet strength of a life, lived responsibly. Because, Liam, I said, smiling as the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, sometimes you have to show people the value of things they cannot see. I paused, looking at the road ahead. And sometimes you just have to honk the horn. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot because your time matters.